was my second father. My first one I never met. My second one was an abusive alcoholic, and when I was around 5 or 6, he hit me in the mouth and knocked my teeth out. And my mom got so angry that she picked up a knife and like stabbed him like 9 times right in front of me. Kind of Dexterish thing, but I'm not a serial killer. But it was a really rough start. I grew up here in West Texas, over on the north side. It was like one chink, as they used to call me back then, even though I'm Thai. But it used to be one chink and a lot of Hispanic and black people, and I was fighting all the time, just every day in my neighborhood. Growing up, I went to Lee, then Man, and Abilene High. Along the way, my mom married another service guy, and he was a lot better. And he was real big into athletics and sports, and he really channeled a lot of my, when stuff happens to kids like that when you're young, those kids tend to be a little wild, and I was, just very wild. I think sometimes that kind of trauma can go one or two ways. You can either go in your shell or you become like a real kind of wild kid. But sports and athletics saved my life. It's how I became Roderick's coach, which was a story on its own. But through sports and athletics, I found a focus for my rage. I found a focus for all of the anger that I had inside of me. And the first step was through normal sports like football and baseball. And, I've always been like 5 foot nothing. So, the older you get, it's a little harder to play football with 6'5", 250-pound dudes. But I found my calling in gymnastics here in Abilene, and I became a state champion. I was very driven. Like I said, when you have a lot of fuel inside of you, and anger can do that, to channel it into something positive can help you. And what I didn't realize is that was later going to become vital. The first time I saw, we had these things called VHS tapes when I was in college. They used to watch movies and stuff on them. But there was a tape going around called the Gracie in Action tape, and there was these little brown guys choking out all these big 250-pound guys, and I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is, because I always grew up fighting and doing martial arts, so I was like, I don't know what that is, but I got to learn that. And I got out the Yellow Pages. That was like a big book that you would look in and find things. And
they don't know anything about that.
I know. Well, y'all use Google now, but it's cool. Ask your parents about the Yellow Pages. Y'all, they still throw them on the. We use them for door. Yeah, we use them for door stops and fire starters. But I found a place where I lived in Norman because I was going to school at OU, and it was called Vision Quest, which was crazy because there was this movie called Vision Quest about wrestling and stuff. That I didn't even know what wrestling was because they never had wrestling here in Abilene, but I liked the movie so much. I loved the soundtrack, and I found this place, and after about 6 months of training, like 6 days a week, 2 times a day, I had my first professional MMA fight in 1990, and it was amazing. I just like the video, the Gracie family would be there shoulder to shoulder, and they'd go out there with their family, and then Hickson, which was my hero, he jumped over the top rope, and he's in there, and the other guy's like this tall, and he's like this tall, and he's fighting this guy for like 15, 20 minutes, and he's choking him out at the end, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I gotta learn it. And I was one of the first, like probably 100 of MMA fighters in America, probably about 20 years ago, and I was right here from Abilene, Texas. And it just changed my world. It changed my world. It changed my life. When I was in college, and I don't know, did anybody else y'all feel like? Does anyone else here feel like y'all have that, like you're angry a lot? You're aggressive a lot. That's because the stuff that happens inside of you, that stays inside of you, if you don't get it out, it makes you angry. You have to get it out. That's why sports for me was such a big deal. That's why fighting was such a big deal. I used to be a guy, like, you look at me funny, I'd be like, what, come on, and start fighting, just really, I was hair triggered. And it changed after getting into jiu-jitsu because, one, I really respected my senseis. I'd met senseis here, but these guys were like Olympians. Like, they were in the Olympics, they were fighting for world championships. These guys were so legit. I'd never met martial artists on this level before. And I had so much respect for them, because I grew up watching Bruce Lee and all these old school, like Jackie Chan, so I had so much love for that, because it really, in a lot of ways, like I said, it saved my life getting involved in martial arts. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to get involved in martial arts, but getting involved in something other than just watching TV or playing video games is so important because you need some place to channel your energy. You know, if you're in school, a lot of places good, which I started focusing more now is business. I used to be all about fighting, and for years, I fought in the 90s, I fought in the 2000s, and then as I got older, it's a little harder to fight people because you feel a little bit like, oh man, like, oh. But business, I use that same, you know, passion and work ethic, and that's one of the things I realize now, because I used to only teach fighters. My first couple schools, it was only like 10 guys that could hang, and you know, half of them couldn't pay. And then I realized you can't have a business like that. I had to figure out how to make martial arts for everyone, because I realized it is for everyone. And I've had guys in my dojo that are in their late 60s. You know, we have little kids that are 2 to 3, 4 years old at our dojo.